Yes, and we're going into our next guest, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who is also a New York City candidate for mayor. And I've been looking forward to talking to you. I know you know my partner Damon, but I just received a graduate school journalism fellowship through the Craig Newmark School of Journalism to cover the New York City race. So I
Wow.
definitely looking forward to talking to you where that is concerned as well too. But
Love
welcome to Black Westchester. Welcome to the People Before Politics radio show.
Love it, love it. And you have my brother,
Yes,
Damien.
sir, man.
We go back like car seats, and we fought together for so many years for justice and public safety. I find it fascinating now when people talk about police reform. Because you discover something doesn't mean there were not soldiers fighting for it long before. And when you go and look at the records of the late 80s, mid 80s, 90s, the 2000s, you will see the name of Damien and others, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. And
Right.
we've been doing this for a while.
Hey, brother.
And I think the most important thing we can do as we evolve as a people, you don't look back on the soldiers who have been on the field of battle and not understand that this is a marathon and we need to continue to fight. And we learn and draw off of each other. I draw off of Nat Turner. I draw off of Marcus Garvey. I draw off of Malcolm X and Dr. King and Sojourner Truth. And even Reverend Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Let's not kid ourselves. Obama became president because Jesse ran for president and
That's right.
laid the pathway to see the possibilities. And I just really encourage, a lot of these, strong soldiers that are coming up, know the history of people who have been engaged in this for a long time and really put not only their paper on the line, but put their lives on the line to be about this.
That's
And
right.
Damon, you one of them, and you have been an unbelievable brother during this entire fight, standing tall and firm. The entire Westchester Guardians Association, you brothers and sisters were doing things when people are afraid to do them.
Thank you, brother. But we following your lead, brother, man. Listen, man, I learned a lot from you, man. And when you told me to get out there and speak that truth, I did it. And many times you came to Westchester a couple of times when we were talking about oversight and talking. You and Mark Claxton came up to Westchester, man, and we lit it up, but we're still fighting that fight,
Yes.
and there's a lot of protest profiteers, that have come along and they're profiting from a lot of the groundwork that you did with 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, you did with the Grand Council of Guardians, and now you took it to the next level when you talked about this back in the 90s, that we need to take it to the next level, and talking and dealing with legislation and dealing on the political level to make that change. And you set the blueprint for a lot of brothers that came out of law enforcement, a lot of brothers that were Black activists, law enforcement activists. You're still setting the blueprint because you're going to be mayor, and you're still setting the blueprint for us, to look at, say, look what Eric has done. We can do that too, even if we don't get that high, we could find our niche, in this Black activist circle, and make a change, brother. And I thank you for that, man, because you taught me a lot.
Thank you.
You definitely taught me a lot, man. And it's good to have you on the show, and to push you.
And I feel like I know you because he quotes you so often. I feel like I already know you. Like, I'm always hearing, Eric said, like, so even though this is the first time I meet you, I feel like I know you already.
Yeah, we learn from each other, man. We learn from each other.
That's right. Even to man, going plant-based, brother. I saw you, man, And you see all the books I got back
Yeah,
here,
I
man.
see that. I was
I'm
looking.
on my dean, brother. And even that, I saw what you did, and changing your life and changing and reversing diabetes and reversing chronic illness, man. And I did the same, brother.
Love
I
it. Love
did the
it.
same, man. And
Love
you still setting the standards.
Mm.
Still even health and wellness, brother. You still setting the standards, and I'm just following your lead, man. And a lot of brothers and sisters is following your lead, also, man.
I appreciate it. I'm looking at those good books you have. I got to send you a copy of my book.
Oh yeah, you definitely got it. Yeah, I got one coming out too, man. I got to send you a copy too. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Black men. Let me tell you something, and I'm just trying to keep it real because this is Black Westchester.
Yes, sir.
I'm not talking at people. I'm just sharing my journey because I am the poster child for screw ups. So I am in no place to dictate to people, but I just want to just let people know the failures I've made, and I'm just honest with myself. And we have to really tackle this health thing because we can't walk around with saying Black Lives Matters, eating the slave master's food,
exactly,
and knowing that it causes these chronic diseases. Liberation is real. Liberation is not, well, I'm going to be liberated on this. I'm not going to be liberated on that. And I'm just having a real family conversation. Mm-hmm. And, when I woke up that day, Brother Damon and AJ, I couldn't see the clock, man. Doctor told me, Eric, you're going to be blind in a year. And I was getting tingling in my fingers and toes. And he was just like nonchalant. Listen, you're going to lose some fingers, you're going to lose some toes. And eventually you have to go on dialysis. And I got to put you on medicine. And I could have easily succumbed to that and said that, okay, you know what, this is my fate. But how do I fight against police brutality, but I don't fight for my body? And so the same level of energy I brought to fight against racism, I said, listen, man, I'm fight for myself. And, to go and make that diet change. And, in 3 weeks, my sight came back. 3 months, my nerve damage went away. My diabetes went in remission. I had an ulcer. The ulcer went away. My high blood pressure normalized. My cholesterol normalized. No medicine. Come on, man. We are rolling our elders to dialysis 3 days a week, 3 hours a day. They are just pumping our family members with drugs. Let me tell you something. The real drug dealer is not the guy with blue jeans on the corner selling crack. It's the three-piece suit pharmaceutical company. Exactly. They have companies hooked on drugs, man. You're never off drugs.
That's right.
And so, when you see Black men saying we're going to take control of our health, that scares white America. That them, because now you're no longer on the food plantation. You're no longer part of the economic. That's why they're fighting so hard, not to really have healthy food in our community. So, I take my hat off to you, and we need to just keep lifting up brothers in particular. Because listen, let's be real. Sisters are coalescing. They have these groups together. They hang out. They show each other so much love. They got these support groups. What do we have?
Exactly.
America's #1 plan is breaking Black boys so they can become broken adolescents and become broken adults and become part of the broken system. America's plan all across this country. It's about how do we break Black boys so they grow up to be broken Black men.
That's right. That's right. That's right, brother. And man, listen. We get ready to set it off right now because you're running for mayor of one of the greatest cities on the planet, and you're coming in with the consciousness, right? You're coming in with Black conscience. You're coming in with health conscience. You come with economic conscience. Do you feel that there is pushback because of your consciousness and what you have stood for in the past and what you stand for now, Brooklyn Borough President, because I've seen you put gardens on top of rooftops. So dude, I'm like, look at my brother, man. He's doing it. I've seen you do these things. I was just listening to a conference online. You was online. It was like he's going to be the first plant-based vegan mayor of New York, right? I'm listening. I'm like, damn, Eric's everywhere, man. This dude is like, he's everywhere, But with all that you're doing, brother, is there a political pushback, to keep you out of that seat because the good that you're going to do for the average person, not just Black people, because one of the politicians, Adam Clayton Powell, said, if you lift Black people up, you lift America up.
That's right.
Right. So if you're doing that, you're in the process of doing that, do you see political pushback to keep you out of City Hall?
Listen, brother, you hit it on the head, and I am not fighting against the scene. I'm fighting against principalities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting against the unknowns, and I can't get here if I'm not walking in the spirit of the ancestors, because I have defied all logic, and there's no way I should be right here at this level. I'm walking in the spirit right now. These are not my talents. These are not my skills. I'm walking in the spirit right now, and I'm clear on that. And the only way I'm going to be able to fight against those principalities is for the spirit and the ancestors and the creator to protect me through this. I'm not getting this on my own. Trust me when I tell you. And when I look at this journey, think about this. I am a young man that was a D student in school. Did not realize that I was dyslexic. I thought I was just dumb and couldn't learn, and no one was there to give me the resources that I needed. And I never even shared that. I learned on my own. I went and found a book when I said to myself, after years of crying and saying, why can't I learn? And I heard someone talk one day about dyslexia, and I went to the library and started to look at it. Then I had to come up with a system where a friend would quote the books for me, and on tapes, little cassettes, and I would hear them and comprehend. Knowing that, then being arrested at 15 and being beat down by cops. These cops kicked my brother and me in the groin over and over again, man. We were urinating blood for a week. And, I was traumatized through that experience. I couldn't see a police car. I couldn't watch a police show. I couldn't hear a siren without reliving that. And it was only until after Arthur Miller was killed by chokehold, and Reverend Daughtry said, it's time for you young Black men to go into the police department to fight from within. I didn't want to go into the police department. I was like, you out of your mind? But I had so much respect for them. And the year that I'm in the police academy. What happens? Eleanor Bumpus gets shot and killed by Sullivan. I get into a big fight with the instructor and saying that it was racist. And he was like, they were like, listen, man, you're not going to last here. And I used to leave the academy in my academy uniform and go up to the Bronx and demonstrate with people after Eleanor Bumpus was shot. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is, man. People don't know this is real, man. This is not a game.
A lot of our young people can learn from that, because one of the things we say, like one of my favorite parts of Hamilton is where the guy that plays Aaron Burr, he said, I want you got to be in the room where it happens. We complain, we march, and we don't fight for legislation. We need to get more of us, one, to join the force, to be inside that way, but to also get to the room where it happens, where we can be able to help create the legislation.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Not just keep calling for it from these elected officials, but become the elected officials. So, like, on all those steps, that's what you're doing.
Right.
And I admire that. And you know what I'm saying? And I hope there's young people watching this that are paying attention, because that's, like you said, it was someone who said, you young guys, this is what we need you to do. these young people out there. This is what we need them to do now.
Right. Well said, AJ. And you have to listen. You don't have to do, but you have to at least listen. Just take an opportunity to, I believe in this coach-player relationship. No professional athlete is going to be at the top of his game without a coach. Because your coach his legs may not be the best right now. He may not be able to hit that three like he wants. He may not be able to, do all the things he wants to do. But trust me, he knows the game. And this game is only going to change but so much. So be aggressive, be vociferous, but take an opportunity to listen. I listen to my advisors, my elders, and I don't have to do what they say, but at least I sit down and I call them and say, listen, give me some instructions here. I'm at a roadblock.
That's right.
How do I get around this? What do I do? I remember at the height of 100 Blacks, someone pulled up next to my car on Atlantic Avenue in Clawson in Brooklyn, and they called out my name. And I looked over to my left in time just to see it looked like it was a 9. And they pointed at my window. I was able to hit the gas fast enough that they, instead of shooting my window or shooting me, they shot the back of my window. And I was shook, and I called, my elders and said, listen, I'm afraid, I just had this experience and I need to know how to handle this. And these cats have went through that violence. They went through the attack. They went through the shootings. They went through the beatings. They were able to nurture me through the process so I could come out the next end and be healthy enough to continue to fight. And if you abandon those elders, you are handicapping yourself.
Exactly. But you know what, brother? And I know this is off the subject. We got to talk about your mayor race, but you brought up something very important. A lot of Black officers don't listen to the senior officers,
right?
That been through the struggle,
right?
When we trying to give them that advice, when we trying to tell them, listen, brother, don't go to the union. Get yourself a lawyer, right? And then when they fired, right, they want to come and want you to have a press conference and do all this crazy stuff. And we like, well, you didn't listen to us in the first place. So a lot of the young brothers and sisters, which we have love for, they're not listening. Like we, Roger Abel used to spank us all the time.
Right. That's right.
He spanked me all the way to his deathbed, right? you understand what I'm saying? He was sick still calling me and spanking me.
Right.
So, but when we try to do it to these young brothers and sisters, they act like, we don't know what we're talking about, and I think that's the difference in the generation, and I hope it changed. Because they're just not listening to the elder brothers and sisters that been through the fire.
Right.
They're also being told, don't listen to y'all because y'all are troublemakers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got the powers to be like, oh no, you're never gonna go nowhere if you listen to him. Don't stay away from him.
And that's the powerful, AJ. That's the powerful thing you said. Well, first of all, Brother Lewis said we need to be good trouble, but that was what was significant about my run in the police department. I went from a police officer special assignment, a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a captain. And so that threw the rule book out the window. You can't be strong and successful. What you can't be strong and wrong. You're going to be strong. You can be hanging out at the titty bar. You know what I'm saying? You can't be just doing whatever you want. You got to say, listen, you're going to be strong, then you can't be wrong. Exactly. And so I was able to navigate and continue to move up, although they came for me, but I had my stuff tight. And so it's not that you can't move up when you stand up for what is right. You can't stand up for what is right if you live in a life that's wrong.
Exactly.
I want to pass it to my brother, Dr. Bob. Do you have any questions? I know my co-host, Dr. Bob, I want to make sure he gets some question time. So
Borough President, firstly, let me tell you, it's a pleasure to have you on set with us this evening. I know your name for several decades now, as we were having a discussion, I ran a couple of infamous names like Volpe and others. I generally remember you coming onto the scene of New York City politics as an activist on the cause of police justice. Sometime, I guess we're talking about sometime in the 90s.
Yes.
You know, maybe Abla Louima and a couple of the more infamous examples of police brutality. I do remember you being out in the forefront, although, you know, I was way up here in Westchester County. So I was curious. So welcome, and it's a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Especially because you have such a close relationship with D. You know, that only deepens my admiration for you. You know, I'm curious. We're in the midst of a crisis has especially left New York City hard hit, and I'm curious to know, what do you think? What are going to be your top priorities? Should you be elected mayor?
Thank you for that, brother. And so, Mario Cuomo says, "You campaign in poetry and you govern in policy." But I have been campaigning in policy, and we must be real honest with ourselves that all COVID did was make the whole country feel black. Pre-COVID, NYCHA development and public housing was dilapidated. Heat wasn't there, hot water, lead paint. Pre-COVID in New York City, 65% of Black children were not meeting proficiency. Pre-COVID, we were having over 100,000 children live in homeless shelters. Pre-COVID, we were displacing people from their homes, although they were here for 30 and 40 years. High drug usage, pantries, food pantries, because you couldn't have enough to eat. Crime was rampant, and we were the victims of crime, victims of police abuse. So pre-COVID, we were already catching hell. What happens post-COVID is those people who thought they would never be on food pantry lines, never lose their jobs, never be afraid to be able to pay their rents, they all of a sudden understood what it was like to be Black in America. And so as we cycle out of this, we can't go to the good old days. We have to go to days when no one is being left out and the inequalities no longer exist. So I'm clear on that the plan must be, how do we end the inequalities? And let me tell you how we do that. Archbishop Desmond Tutu has a quote that I live by. We spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. No one goes upstream to prevent them from falling in the first place. Our cities in America, they are downstream places. All they do is they have become professionals at pulling people out of the river. We have to go upstream and say, I am stopping you from falling in the river. The reason there's no incentive to stop people from falling in the river is look at the people who are being pulled out, Black, brown, and immigrant. You're pulling people out of the river of crime, the river of homelessness, the river of mental health illnesses, the river of learning disabilities, pulling them out of the river of healthcare crises. All we do is hang out downstream and come up with programs of pulling people out of the river. I say, let's go upstream. Because if you wait for people to come downstream, it's only a matter a number of them are going to drown on their way down. The only way you prevent those drownings is to not allow them to fall in the first place. So what am I talking about? Tell me how 65% of Black children don't meet proficiency every year in school.
Right.
You don't educate, you will incarcerate. 80% of the men and women on Rikers Island don't have a high school diploma or an equivalency diploma. A third of the 18 to 21-year-old read below a 5th grade reading level. 30% are dyslexic. So upstream, you do dyslexia screening so you can identify a child when they're dyslexic so you can give them the support they need. You don't wait until they think they can't learn, start slinging drugs, carry a gun, do a stick up, and end up on Rikers Island. That's downstream. Now you have to come up with programs because he already has been damaged already. Or even our foster care system. Every year we know 6,700 people age out of foster care. Every year. We know only 21% are going to graduate from high school. 3% will enroll in college. We know they're more likely to have mental health illnesses, become victims of crimes or commit crimes. We know that every year. So why not give them support, like something called Fair Future, where they can age out at 26 with a life coach that would give them the support. Studies are showing 90% would graduate from high school if they had those life coaches in the support. But when you look at, well, who are the foster care children aging out? Black, brown immigrant. Who are the children that are not getting support for being dyslexic? Black, brown immigrants. No matter where you go, you look downstream and you see professional institutions and agencies that are making paper from pulling people out of the river. There's no profit in going upstream and preventing these crises in the first place. That's why there's no incentive to stop them.
Powerful. Damon.
Brother, you talked about, which I wasn't able to make it, but I was there in spirit. When the Grand Council of Guardian supported you, you talked about having the support of the blue collar workers of New York City. Talk about your support. Talk about the people that came out to support and why they supported you as a candidate than the other candidates.
And thank you. And when I use the term blue collar as a symbol, not just a type of job status, because I want my accountants, my attorneys, my doctors, my nurses, my school teachers, I want them to understand they work hard too. And they are being betrayed also. And so it's the blue collar energy. All of us, no matter who we are, no matter how successful we are, we can trace our lineage back to a person who was a hardworking blue collar person. They took every dollar they earned, they put food on the table for today, and they invested in the future we are enjoying now. That is the spirit we must return to this city, that hard-working spirit that respects taxpayers' dollars and not treat it like a trust fund baby, that you can spend it like there's a never-ending flow. And so when you look at the support, I have the broadest base of support, as I stated. We have been successful in bringing together this coalition of all these different ethnic groups that are seeing and hearing my vision. We've outraised the entire field. We raised over $9.1 million for this race, and no one else has raised as much as we have. 75% of the people who donated to my race is a low-dollar donor, but it's the support of all of the major unions, DC 37, 32BJ, HTC, Tribal Bridge and Tunnel. All of these major unions have come out and stated, we hear what Eric is saying about running this city in a more efficient way and not create the crisis, so that we can finally utilize tax dollars to lift up all New Yorkers. Here's the role of government. Government is supposed to prepare our children to be adults that won't be dependent on government. And those, for whatever unforeseen circumstance, that need government, they should be able to get the services that they need. And we are doing just the opposite. We are, number one, not preparing our children to be prepared for the future, but we're also not providing the services that are needed. Cities are made up of agencies. And if those agencies are not aligned, if they're not coordinated, they're going to continue to produce a dysfunctional product. And that's what we're doing. And so the support I'm receiving is coming from this cross-section of people who are just stating they want their city to work. They're taxpayers. They just want their money's worth of what they're paying for.
One of the I mean, like everywhere else, I've watched a lot of the debates and I watched a lot of the talking. One of the big things that keep coming up is homelessness and affordable housing. That seems to be like, and which is the topic everywhere, but that and the condition of NYCHA. Those are major topics that just keep coming up. What, if elected, what would you do to make those situations better, to deal with those situations?
Two pieces that I believe is crucial. As I stated, when I was diabetic and I went to the doctor in Ohio after seeing 5 doctors here, I saw 5 of the experts here. They all said there's nothing we can do for you. This is your plight. Your mother's diabetic, so you're going to be diabetic. But anyway, when I went to see the doctor, he says, Eric, you're dealing with vision loss, nerve damage, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You're going to deal with some kidney failures. You're going to deal with all of these issues. He said, I could give you medicine for each one of these ailments that you are experiencing. Or I can go to the underlying reason you are experiencing them, and you're going to reverse all of them. That's the same thing in our cities, and I say cities, plural, because it's all across America. We can say, okay, what are we going to do about housing? What are we going to do about homelessness? What are we going to do about crime? What are we going to do about this, that? Those are all systems of a dysfunctional city. We need to deal with the underlying reason that all of those other ailments are at acute stages. That's what I want people to start thinking about. This spot running from one crisis to the next, that's like playing whack-a-mole. They're going to still pop up. We've been talking about homelessness for God knows how long. We've been talking about NYCHA for God knows how long. I'm saying let's stop doing responding to the symptoms. Let's look at the underlying cause. The underlying cause that all of these things are happening is because the city is dysfunctional. The agencies are not aligned. They create crises for each other. And until you change the incentive of being siloed, you're always going to have these problems. And people are just used to just talking about them. So how do you change the symptoms of just homelessness? Here's what we do with homelessness, our downstream model. We wait till someone that's dealing with a mental health crisis carries out an act in the street that's a crime. We arrest them. We take them to Rikers Island for the crime that they committed. 48% of the inmates at Rikers Island have mental health illnesses. Or if they don't do anything that is criminal in nature, but just something that is dangerous, we take them to the hospital. We give them medicine for 1 day, and then we put them back in the street until they do it again. That is a downstream model. How do we go upstream? We go upstream by looking at programs like the Fountain House. Amazing program, 85% stability rate of all of their clientele. They give them wraparound services, supportive housing. They make sure they get their medical needs, because if you're homeless, for the most part, you're also dealing with chronic diseases. The street homeless, for the most part, are dealing with mental health illnesses. They rebuild trust with them, and they make sure they stabilize them instead of placing them in the revolving door that we have witnessed for so long. But again, who's homeless? Black, brown, and immigrants. So there's no incentive when you're making so much money and having homeless shelters and making so much money doing all of these services for them. That is where people are making paper by ensuring you have this revolving door system. I'm going to go upstream and stop the revolving door of that.
I just wanted to respond to what you were saying, but they're going to I'm going to give you a response. But Eric, that's going to cost even more money. How would you pay that money to have 24-hour access? To have them doing all this stuff when we're just putting them back out in the street where they came from the beginning.
Right. And the beauty here is when you prevent, it is more cost effective. We're talking about almost 10 times more cost effective than when you respond downstream. What does that look like? The majority of people who are dealing with street homelessness, they clog up our emergency rooms. Mm-hmm. They don't get medical care until it's at the acute level. It costs more expensive. If I would have gone the pattern of my diabetes, you know how much money I have been spending on insulin, eye drops,
Exactly.
Dialysis, amputation, so by reversing, I'm saving taxpayers' money, dollars now. And the problem is we're looking for expensive short-term solutions instead of investment in saving taxpayers' dollars with long-term solutions. So it's not more expensive. It's actually extremely more of cost saving than doing it proactively than reactively.
That's right. That's right.
So you have a rare opportunity if elected. Sometimes they say we need to just clean house. There's like what 31, 34 council seats. Your race, like there's going to be a new government in 2022. But unfortunately, there are probably going to be a lot of people that are going to have to learn on the job too, as opposed to people that were. You'll have like usually the way it works is you have some people that are there, you come in and you work with some people that are already there, and then you get new people. But you're going to have like all new people almost. So a lot of people are going to have to work on the fly. Is that a challenge? Speak about that a little bit.
It is a challenge because there's we can't be so idealistic that we're not realistic. And running government, you have to be real about the things you have to do in New York City. Like, just look at police reform. You have people that are stating disband police departments. While we get the city in a safe place, it's almost like driving a car with a clutch. As you take your foot off the clutch and put on the gas, you have to do it at a certain level. So we still have a gun problem in our city. You disband police departments with a gun problem, that's going to impact Black and brown and immigrant communities. While we transform the city and what we want it to be, we have to deal with the imminent issues that are in front of us. But you don't want to stay in a state of just crisis and imminent issues. You want to start cycling out into a place we're no longer feeding the crisis. But there's some folks that just don't understand there's a process to doing an evolution. That's why they call it an evolution, because you want to slowly correct the wrongs. And if you come into the city council with believing you're just going to blow everything up because it sounds good and not want to sit down and have conversations with people and find out ways of how do we work together instead of against each other, then we're going to have a serious problem in this city.
Absolutely. Because I was like, when I first got this assignment and I saw all the people that were running, it was just incredible. I don't know, what is it, because of term limits or something? Like they're literally cleaning house at the council, like literally out of 50, 50 or 51 seats, 34 of them are going to change.
Yes, and it is cleaning house. That's a lot of change. And, many people come in, we all have been, I've been the same way. You come in, full with that energy and, really, you just want to, see things turn over. But in reality, it takes work and collaboration to get real effective change.
So how do you work with them? How do you work with, how do you pull that together? Like, that's going to be your challenge if you're in. How do you work with all these, you're going to have the real radical ones and the real, how do you bring all that together to work?
By really being a consensus builder, by understanding, what their desires are. We don't know who's going to get elected yet. Sit down and give my years of wisdom from my mistakes and errors, and really build some collaboration. We can all get the same things. That we may all have different pathways to get there, but it is very possible that we all can get to the destiny that we're looking at. And by really showing and encouraging people to have a dialogue, not a monologue, not a debate. We could disagree without being disagreeable. And that is going to be important that we embrace that in order for us to get through this, we have to communicate with each other together.
Dr. Bob had a question.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to circle back to AJ's question about homelessness, the crisis of homelessness in New York City, and pick up on your metaphor of trying to tackle things upstream before they really metastasize. I happen to teach, and in my class this week, we were just reading about the rise of the so-called real estate state. And essentially, the thesis is that real estate industry dominates so much of our local economies. And one housing advocacy group in New York City, named Picture the Homeless, contends that the real upstream problem is that the real estate industry is creating artificial vacancies in terms of housing. And here I have for you just a little summary, because AJ and Damon know I like to share little stats. According to Picture the Homeless, there are, and this is a fairly recent report, Brother Adams. I don't know the exact year, but it's within the past decade. According to Picture the Homeless, there are more than 3,500 vacant buildings, nearly 2,500 vacant lots that are being unused, and if these are being withheld from the market so that the owners can wait for property values to rise, and in so doing, they're creating artificial shortage in housing. If we adopted some sort of tax program to force them to either refurbish things, get them back on the market, or if not, you start paying a price. We might see an increase in the supply of housing, and even forego the need for having the city foot the full bill with the creation of public housing or affordable housing. I'm curious to know. Yeah, here I'll stop. Thank you. I'm just curious to know, Brother Adams, have you considered this dimension of the housing crisis in New York City? What's your thoughts about trying to find ways to force property owners to get those homes back on the market sooner?
Well, clearly, we need to look at a vacancy tax. We have to, what you incentivize is going to become your reality. And if you incentivize someone holding onto a property or holding on to units and not rent those units, if you incentivize that, then you're going to get that as a final product. I know that many of the units are extremely high now. Rent is high in the city, and it's going to be extremely challenging. I don't know if it can stand up to legal muster to demand that someone charge a certain price for their rent if it's not an affordable unit or rent stabilized or rent control apartment. And so if you have a luxury condominium, I don't know if it would pass legal muster or luxury rental to say you have to rent this at a certain cost, but you can incentivize a vacancy tax. That is what I believe the Senate and Albany is doing now, to see how do we incentivize the rental of those units so that we can actually get people into housing.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm going to have to depart. I would love to come on again, but I have another event to do. This is a big city, and I got this little project I'm doing right now called Running for Mayor.
Thank you, brother.
Yes.
I appreciate you. As you close out, I just want you to say a few things. You made a statement about you didn't point at any of your opponents, but you said that where were they?
Yes.
Yes. When you were standing in the 90s, you were standing 2000s, and you were standing recently, and all for the average person. Where were they? And as you close out, brother, just leave us with a little thing about talking about that you were there when they were doing other things and not even thinking about running for mayor of New York City. You was representing the people of New York City.
That's a real question. You could critique my record because I have a record. And, and so I think that's the question that New Yorkers must ask. Where were they? You can't all of a sudden discover what people are going through when you discover you want to be mayor. And whichever candidate that can't answer that question, they need to do some soul searching. And if they don't want to do soul searching, the people of the city should do some searching of their records. There are too many incidents that have happened in this city that needed people to stand up and be leaders. And it didn't start now in 2021. These problems existed for a long time. And when you look over my very clear 35 uninterrupted years of commitment, dedication, and fighting on behalf of people, I will put that record up to anyone. And people would look at my armor and they would see some scars, some kinks, some dirt, some grime, and days is not attractive. That's because I've been on the field of battle. I didn't bring it out just for parades or just for festivities. I've been fighting a battle for people. And I'm ready to continue that battle as the mayor of the city.
I wish you well. Definitely an open door for whenever you want to reach out and you want to reach the people and you got a message you want to get out. And hopefully I'll be talking to you more with the Fellowship Project on the election.
Yes.
And I look forward to that. Thank you for your time and we wish you well.
Just want to encourage people, if they want to learn more about me, they could go to the website, ericadams2021.com, ericadams2021.com. You can make a contribution, you can volunteer, you could be part of the movement, and you could look at my document, 100 plus steps forward for New York City. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So yes, that was definitely a great show. Definitely a wealth of information from both guests, and I'm definitely and Bob, we had the presence of Damon K. Jones in the place to be. Like,
what's going on, D?
Yeah, what up, Bob? What up, Bob?
Listen, I'm only talking for the audience right now, man. We miss you, brother. We miss you, brother. That's all I'm gonna say,
Hey,
man. So good to have you back on, man.
Exactly. I'm glad to be back, man. I'm glad to be here, man. It's great to come on. And I just got a text from the chief of Las Vegas Police Department, Louis, who just said it was a great interview. Shout out to my brother out in Las Vegas, Louis Molina. He's doing big things out there.
Yes. Brother Molina.
I am blessed to know great people, man, doing big things. And I hope one day in my life, I'll do just as big a thing as brother Eric and brother Louis Molina out in Las Vegas is doing, man.
And you are on your own terms, even with coming up with me and starting Black Westchester. Like, this was a void to speak to the people, and we've done a lot of good. That was, and as we come up on our 300th episode, we're coming up on our 7-year anniversary. We and this is just the beginning of a lot of stuff. So don't undercut. You might not be Brooklyn Borough president, but Joe, you out there, you out there, and definitely. I know that your phone rings every time something happens, because then my phone rings next. So I know.
Look, man, I got big shoes to fill, man. If you look what other brothers and sisters is doing, and it's a blessing to know them. I'm humble about it. It's a blessing to be around brothers that's doing and sisters. I know a lot of sisters that are doing great things, and it's a blessing to be around them doing and watching them do such great things that they're doing, man. But Black Westchester is something that me and AJ put together, and and it has evolved into being one of the voices of Black people in Westchester County. We're not Black Portchester, we're not Black White Plains, Black Greenburgh, Black Yonkers, or Black Mount Vernon. We are Black Westchester, and we represent, and we cover the news with a Black point of view for people of Westchester County, not no individual person or politician. We cover the news for the people, the news with the Black point of view. And what AJ has been doing with the paper is outstanding. And we're going to continue to speak truth to power, whether anybody likes it or not, because it's not, when we set boundaries on what we stand for, and if you don't like the boundaries, it's not our problem, it's your problem. And if you don't like the boundaries that we stand as an independent Black newspaper in Westchester County, you don't have to read it, you don't have to touch it, but you have to take the truth that we put in that paper, because it's nothing else but the truth. We stand by it. Every letter or sentence or period that's put in that paper, we stand by it. And if you feel that is false, you could take us to court and sue us, but you'll lose. So I'm saying that, because there's going to be a day when I come back on and I'm going to whip some of you hypocrites out here, because I see a lot of foolishness going on, and I haven't been on the radio and I've been talking for a while, but I'm standing in my truth, and my truth is going to be truthful, and it's going to whip the naked lies off of some of you fools out there in Westchester County that's been playing the people for fools. And enough is enough. I just been eating vegetables, man, and I've been feeling real good, and I lost a lot of weight, but I ain't
working on that Peloton, working that Peloton.
Exactly, but I ain't lost weight in my mouth. So don't think I lost some weight in my mouth. I just ain't been bothering with the foolishness and the shenanigans of some of y'all Negroes out here in Westchester County. But what I will say is that we're going to keep on doing it, man. And thanks Dr. Bob, and thank Lorraine, and definitely thank AJ for holding it down. But we're going to continue to talk, to speak the truth. I'm on a health and wellness kick, because I really believe that Black people have been bamboozled. And I'm glad Eric came on, and I hope Eric will come back on and talk about his book, and we have to get into talking about health and wellness and how it affects our brain, right? And how it affects the way that we're thinking, because some of us need to lay off the fast food and drop some pounds, and maybe we'll think a little different and stop lying to the people. So we have to get to that point, and I hope we can, because we have to change our communities, man. And part of the thing is addressing healthcare inequities, and addressing how we eat and how we feed our children. And that affects the future of our communities.
One thing he said too, Sam, just like he said, he was told that his mother had diabetes, and that's why he has diabetes, and like it was inherited. And when we had a conversation, it wasn't inherited. The food they ate was inherited, not the disease. So
exactly. Exactly, because my doctor told me the same thing, right? He says, okay, right, you're diabetic. Right. And I said, oh, my mother's diabetic. He said, oh, you get it. It's genetic. I said, wait a minute, doctor, I'm adopted. Fuck is the genetic? And that's not my biological mother. Right? But the only thing we had in common is we ate the same damn food. I ate the same food that she cooked. So if she became diabetic from the food she was cooking me for the last 30 goddamn years, I'm gonna be diabetic because I'm eating the same food. So we know that it's BS when they talk about is DNA. No, it's not the DNA. It's not your DNA. It's the food that you eat every day, right? And then we wonder why Black communities are pockets of diabetic, high cholesterol, and obesity. Why? Because we all eating the same damn food. We all eating from Wing Chong Lee's Chinese food. We all going to McDonald's. We all going to Burger King. We all eating the hog mogs, and we going to the Jamaican store, and we getting the greasy ass oxtails. We all eating the same food. So there's no wonder why we're coming out with the same chronic diseases. And even when it comes to our children, they're being diagnosed ADHD. And there's many reports out there that say a lot of the ADHD, at least 60% of the ADHD, is a result in a response to the children's daily dietary habits. So literally, we are giving our children ADHD and chronic diseases before they even get to adulthood. Because if you clog up the arteries, what happens? You get less blood to your brain. You get less blood to your brain, right? And that's what they call brain fog. So our little children, 8, 9, 10 in high school, walking around with brain fog. So they walk around with brain fog, and then they want to smoke weed. They want to drink alcohol. They want to do everything else on top of the brain fog. So then they say black kids are goddamn crazy. So it starts with the parents. We have to change how we
gotta educate the parents.
We gotta educate the parents because we gotta educate the parents. And let me tell you, and I'm gonna talk about this tomorrow on a later show, but the whole thing is we understand that you have single parents and they working 2 jobs, they trying to live, and they feeding their kids McDevils. It's just every day, it's cheap. They feeding their kids McDevils, and the sisters going through their own. The sisters are going through their own problems, and they just loving it at McDonald's too, because they going through their own trauma and they going through their own mental crisis. The next thing you know, they're obese, and they got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and they feeding their children high blood pressure, and then they getting pre-diabetic at 10 years old. I mean, this is what's happening in the black community. And then the fact that, they have poor health care in the black community. Mount Vernon's still trying to keep their hospital open. You're talking about a city, 70, 80,000 people? And they're going
100, but yeah.
Let's just say 100,000. Let's just say 100,000. And you got to fight to keep a hospital open with all the chronic illnesses and senior citizens. If that is not a disregard for Black life from county and state government, then what is? We have to call a spade a spade. Black people shouldn't have to fight to keep a hospital open. Black people shouldn't have to fight to keep a hospital fully functional with 80, 90, 100,000 people. But we all know that the medical system, the healthcare system, is all about the Benjamins. As Brother Eric said, prescription medication is the drug dealer in the Black community. It ain't the kid that sell weed. Weed is legal now. It ain't the kid that sell crack. It's the prescription drug. It's the prescription doctors that fill people with prescriptions, and they're on prescription meds for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and their damn health ain't fucking changed. Excuse my French. Their health ain't changed. So you get a lady that's on Medicaid, and she's paying $75 a week for medication. And now she's 80 years old, and she's been paying that for the last 30 years. Hell, she could got her ass out of poverty just investing in the stock market, $75 a week for 30 years. She could become a millionaire. But she's not a millionaire. She's still poor. But the doctors and the medication hustlers are making millions of dollars. We have to change how we look at the system. We have to change how we look at the system if we're going to change the Black community. And part of it is our seniors and our poor people are spending majority of their money on medication when they could just go to the vegetable market and eat fruits and vegetables and change their life and get off that medication and get their kids off that ADHD medication and stop taking that anxiety meds and everything that these doctors is peddling black people, because we get anxiety just because we're black. You walk out the door, you're scared to get shot by the cops or robbed. So we're gonna have fucking anxiety. But we could change that with the food that we eat. We could change that with affirmations and meditation and prayer. We could change our community. We need these pastors to get on the pulpit and start talking about fruits and vegetables instead of fried chicken and collard greens full with grease. We could change our community through the food that we eat. Because we change our food, we change our spirituality, and we change our God frequency.
That's what's dangerous about Eric Adams running for mayor. That's what's dangerous. That's what's dangerous about him running. And you would probably see a lot more healthy eating establishments in the city. Like you would, we don't have a lot, like on the south side of Mount Vernon, you don't have a lot of that. Like there's not a lot of places. If you're not driving, there's not a lot of places to go get something that's healthy for you. So
exactly. Let me just say something, because the haters that are watching, right? They said, "Damn, what you talking all that?" And your family own a cupcake shop. You shouldn't be eating cupcakes every goddamn day. That's it. That's a snack. That's a snack. That's a snack. So,
but they do have vegan. There are some vegan cupcakes.
No, we do that gluten-free and vegan, all that. But at the end of the day, you should be
eating cupcakes every day.
You should be eating cupcakes every day.
Listen.
You gotta.
I could eat cupcakes every day, just because of my affiliation with you, and I stay away from there. I stay away from the cupcake shop, for real, because I'd be 100 pounds heavier if I sat there and ate all the cupcakes that I can eat there. Like, it's just not. You just got.
Thank you, Sister Joanne Dunn. She said, "You guys have been doing the work, so you should be celebrated as well." Flowers back to all of you men of color who are doing the real work, boots on the ground, the voice of Black people. Thank you.
Yes. We were having a conversation. I don't know if you were there, like the March issue, and we were giving women their flowers while they were still alive. A lot of the unsung heroes, and we were giving her flowers while she was still alive. So she said flowers back to us, and I greatly appreciate that.
And June
28th,
there's going to be Black men. The importance of Black men and Black boys rally at Yosemite Park in Greenberg. I'm still waiting on some of the information. And I think that's going to be very important, because we have to raise the Black man back up. Now, I know some of y'all women are watching, and y'all want to throw in the woman stuff. But we've been talking about the Black women politically for the last 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 elections. Yeah.
With dealing with the election.
Yeah.
It's the time of the woman. And rightly so. And we believe no nation can rise higher than this woman. But as we lift the woman and lift the nation, must be a strong Black man standing there. Let's not get it twisted. And this is not, I'm not trying to talk no male chauvinist stuff. I'm just saying that the colonizer, the oppressor, has always wanted to put the wedge between the black woman and the black man.
Because when they stand together, they're so powerful that they can't do
Exactly.
nothing about it. So that's why there's a power that they can't do nothing about when they stand together.
Exactly. So some of y'all say, well, women are oppressed. Yes, women are oppressed, and black men should stand up and defend black oppressed women. But at the end of the day, there ain't been no time in America that the black man wasn't oppressed. There ain't been no time in America that the black man didn't have it the same or had it the same as the white man. Give me a date. Give me a year that there wasn't a black man lynched, killed, whipped, or killed by police. Give me a year. Ain't been a year since we put our foot on American soil. So don't think that we have it the same as the black man. We're just as oppressed as the black woman, if not even more. So don't give me that nonsense. We have to work together.
Work together. That's the point.
We have to do this together.
Absolutely.
As black men and women.
So
and
just like you're saying that,
together, then forget about it.
Right. Just like you said, black men need to stand up and support the black women. The black women be out there marching and no black men out there with them. We need to support each other. To build the nation, we need to support each other.
Black men have been silent this last election. We've been silent. But we ain't gonna be silent no more. Because we watch our communities. And to be honest, we're both broken people. Broken black women and broken, but we deal with a lot of damn trauma. Just being black. Wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, trauma. Brush your teeth, trauma. You know, take a shower, trauma. Get in your car, drive down the highway, get pulled over, got trauma. Go to work, more trauma. Because you're black. And you live in a world that has looked at you as a second-class citizen. Men and women. So, you know, we got to work together, man. We got to stop this nonsense. We have to stop this nonsense. It's not it ain't no competition on who's the more oppressed. Stop it. We all catching hell. We all in the grave, and our little eyeballs peeking up, trying to get out the grave. Both of us, black men and women. Stop the nonsense, man, and let's work together.
Absolutely. So we got we got Black Westchester Power Hour tomorrow, WVOX 11 to noon, and Damon will be on the Culturally Lit show on WVOX at 7 to 8. Dr. Bob, any last words? Your mic's muted.
Bob, Bob.
I was gonna say, hey, it's good to have Damon back on the show. But D, we're not so excited, at least I'm not so excited to have you on, that I will not publicly acknowledge that I missed our co-host, the Lovely.
Lorraine,
who's
yes.
here. Lovely.
Yeah, where's Lorraine at?
You're out there somewhere, Lorraine.
She said she's spring cleaning.
She put laughy faces on my Facebook post. And I see it right now. It says 10 minutes ago. She put laughy faces on my Facebook post. But you know, big shout out to Lorraine.
She's spring cleaning. She needed the week off. Some me time.
Hey, that's all right. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong. And I'm sorry I ran my mouth. Man, I haven't been able to run my mouth.
This is why you need to come on more often, so you ain't got to try to get it all out of
I feel like you're trying to make up for lost time here, brother.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
We need your presence on more often. Again, this is episode 298. We are 2 weeks away from today, from our 300th episode, March 16th, the 300th episode. So holla at us. Definitely gonna have a celebration. Putting it all together now. Thank you for all that kind words about the DMX issue. We getting calls from all over the country to mail copies, and people like sending postage, like mail it to me here. We got a lot of love on that issue. Next issue comes out Friday. The May issue comes out Friday. Finishing up that now. Last chance to advertise tomorrow. So if you want to get your ad in, you're a candidate, want to get your ad in, last chance to advertise tomorrow. With that said, if nothing else, we out of here, right?
Peace.
There we go. Here we go.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never